Hey, what's up? It's Arthur from Osmio, and today is really sunny day, and I decided why not? I have some free time, and it's a good idea to spend this time to discuss an MVP with you, like minimum viable product. So even though different companies are approaching this subject a different way, like if we're talking about startups, they are approaching with slow budget and other problems that startups have, and the bigger companies have their own problems specific to the types of business and to the size of company. It may be not the budget, but the other problems. So maybe staffing problems. So I decided that, yeah, why not discuss it? So let's go. All right, so my team kindly provided me questions for this video. Finally, I don't have to make up my own questions. So yeah, the first one regarding MVP subject is that you need to have a right team for the launch. And why is it important? Well, having the right team, what is the right team, anyways, right? The right team for everyone is something subjective. For MVP, the right team for me should be flexible, it should be cost effective, and it should be really good at generating ideas and ways around to make your timeline not 3 or 4 months or 5 months or a year, but make the timeline suitable for the MVP. Because when we're speaking about MVP, we want to deliver it faster and test it in the market. So that's one of the most important thing to have this way of thinking within your team that if you're discussing with them your requirements, they're proposing some ideas, they are providing some ways to avoid long-term development and stuff like that. So that would be right team for me. And if you don't have this kind of team, let's think what we will have in the future, what problems we will have, right? So the same that I described, but with a minus sign. So cost effective, not cost effective. Like there is no reason to have a team for MVP that will consume the same the budget like for a full product, and that's not suitable not only for a startup but for middle and huge company too. Like you don't want to spend a lot of budget on an MVP if you're even not even sure if it will be successful, right? So that's the first one. The second one was flexibility, right? And if we're talking about people that are not flexible, in case you have such, I don't know, everyone is speaking, translating that we are flexible, we are flexible, we are flexible. Yes, of course we are. But in reality, people are not flexible most of the time, and they need to be flexible. That telling you that they're flexible. In fact, they're not. So that's something you need to figure out during the interviews and just speaking with them. If they have some standardized process, it may be good, right, for the big project, but for the MVP, it may be not as good as for big one. So that's something you should check for yourself. The next one was timeline. So I think I said it all. If you don't have so much time to work with MVP for years, you want to test it right now, and that's what you should also transmit to the team and be sure that they are able to do that within the right time frame. Of course, it's not something that you can do. mm, you know, it's not possible to build a house in one day, right? But if your goal is not to build a castle, but just a regular house, it's pretty achievable within the reasonable time, and that's what you need to check for during the MVP. So just to finalize once more again, you will not be able to achieve your goals without a right team because you will fail budget-wise, time-wise, or quality-wise, and that's something that you should be careful about most of all while doing MVP. Okay, and if we're speaking about more into details about the team, we should definitely mention what is a dream team by itself. So, dream team for any MVP, it may be, of course, a little bit of different, of course, whether you are working with AI or maybe some medical project, maybe something with a law or maybe even government projects, right? But there is the same thing from one project to another that is just being repeated again and again, and that is the core team, dream team that goes from one project to another. So the first one is definitely a business analyst. It's a person who describes your ideas into the piece of paper, right? And that's how your team actually synchronizes between each other. It's not only by the verbal speaking, and that's something you should understand because if you don't have someone who gathers everyone around himself, like a business analyst does, who describes all the requirements of this project, of this MVP, you will not succeed anyways, right? So you have to have this person one way and one another. Second one would be, of course, a developer or developers, depending on the project, and that's something I don't have to explain to you, right? I hope so. Uh, the next one would be QA, and that's something that most of you guys are underestimating. You definitely need to have this kind of person because if in MVP there are not so much features at all in this application, right? You have one killer feature and maybe that's even it. So if this feature will fail, if it will be poor quality, your customers will not be interested in your product at all. So what's the point of developing all these features, killer features, if in the end you will provide a shit quality? There are not any like understandable reasons to do that without if you like doing business, right? So please have a QA in your team, at least one, at least middle one. It's not so much money, but the amount of usefulness you will get from this person is unmeasurable, and that's pretty much it. So whether you are doing any kind of project, there may be a lot of roles like Scrum Master, Project Manager, Developer, UI UX Designer, Business Analyst, DevOps, Data Engineer, Data Scientist, uh, and other types of people. But the core one, Dream Team, for me, the minimal MVP for MVP, right? MVP team for MVP project is a business analyst, developer, and a QA, right? I'm speaking from the software development way of view, and you also want to add a UI UX designer for this project. Of course, that's also is a core type of person, but the other ones would be optional, and that's something you have to figure out on the way. But without those that I described, your project will fail. And these people should be extremely qualified, extremely skillful, because the project, foundation of a project, foundation of MVP will depend out of these people. And it is also important that this team already work together. If they have not worked together before, there will be a huge gap in communication. So if you're planning to, for example, get one person from one company, get the second person on freelance, get the third person from another company, you're likely to fail. You need to have a team that is built around something together, that was already working together. You need to have this team of people that at least are working in one company, because if you fail to do so, if you will take someone from the market, someone from the freelance, you will fail. So dream team is something that is most skillful, most teamwork. All right. Yeah, I said a lot about Dream Team. Even though it's just a few people, it's still very important to have this core stable and skillful. So let's go to yeah, let's talk about additional resources. Additional resources are the people that you don't need to have throughout the whole project, right? You need to have them just for maybe a month or a week. Like UI UX designers, you need them just once. So if we're talking about additional resources, of course you will need something specified based on your project. And for example, it may be like specialized in AWS DevOps or any other kind of person. I don't want to uh, bring your attention to some exact position, right? We are just speaking about any possible position like data scientist, data engineer, sysops, and other kind of people. The thing is, if you need someone additionally, it's wise to ask the same team that is doing the core work to invite these people from their side, right? Because they already know the project. They already have this expertise on your MVP. They already done some work around uh, on your project, and it would be the best fit. And of course, it's proven communication between you and this team. However, there are some cases in which, for example, my company is not specialized in maybe, uh, for example, AI. Yeah. So, but we are specialized as a vendor. We are really specialized in other subject, which is classic development and QA, right? We have our strong sides, we have our weak sides. And if you ask me to bring some AI engineer or data scientist, you will get an answer that I'm not specialized, but I can ask a team that is specialized in AI, and you will get a great AI specialist from our partners. And that's how it works, when it's kind of a referral system, power of handshake, whatever you want to call it. But in the real world, if you need to repair your car, you'll ask within your friends who is a good mechanic, right? And they will tell you, and that's the best recommendation you may have. So the same goes with these IT companies that are doing your MVP. So it's always better to ask them for a recommendation, because they're in the business for a very long time, that they know whose strong side is, for example, AI, and they will recommend it to you. It's not because we want to support each other and other stuff. We just want to be sure that this product, this MVP, will be successful. And if you will hire someone from outside and he will fuck up AI part, the whole project will collapse. And we don't want that as a vendor. We don't want that. Definitely, trust me, we don't want that. No, no, no. We want your project to be successful. So uh, please trust the company you are working with. They will likely recommend you someone really good, and getting additional resources is always better from your current vendor or from the vendor that is recommended by your current vendor. And just one small thing that I wanted to add to my previous speech, which is it's not always about the money. For us, it's more about trust and building relations. So we are likely to compromise on earning money from you, from working with you, uh, but gaining this reputation and gaining success for your MVP. And that's something that you should understand. It's not always about the money. And for companies like mine, who are doing long-term business, it's much more important to earn your trust and the credibility on the market than money. So when we are speaking about these all questions like the core of the dream team, additional specialists, and stuff like that, in the end we have one question: how much people is minimum for any MVP? And I would say three, three people, which is business analyst, developer, and QA. If you have any like UI story going on, you will have four people. And depending on your project, you will need to understand who will you need. It's not always about the number of people involved in your project, right? It's not always about having like the best dream team in the world. It's about a few people, just a few people that will bring a huge difference. So I'm not talking about marketing campaigns and other stuff in this video because this is a totally different subject. But from the software development standpoint, it would be three. And if you're talking about finding these people, there are a few ways to find such a company to provide you a team. Of course, you always can hire them in-house, but look at my previous video about hiring in-house people, which is really hard and complicated, and you need to be able to control them. But if you hire in from the external company, uh, the most efficient way to find a company would be a Clutch, good firms, G2A, and websites like that. You can also use Upwork for such kind of task, but I would recommend not looking for freelancers because, as I previously said, it's always better to have a team that worked together before. So try to look for the companies and be careful about their reviews because Upwork is a place where there are a lot of fake reviews. Those are the ways of creating this team, this dream team that you want to have. Processes and tools. It's kind of a boring subject to discuss, of course, especially in the MVP video, right? But that's also something that you need to have in your product, in your MVP, because if you don't have any process at all, it's bad. If you have overcomplicated process, it's also bad, right? And you know, it may vary from project to project and project manager to project manager, but usually for MVP, I would recommend using Kanban or Light Scrum with, you know, 2 week sprints to let the team work. That's my main problem with all these startups and, uh, more of a controlling companies that are trying to get results every week or every 3 days. So let them breathe, you know. And so let's stick to this. And if we're speaking about tools, you can use any tool that you want that is usable to you, that is comfortable. But from my experience, I'm pretty okay with using Jira products and Confluence, which is Atlassian package, standard thing for any software development company. Some use Trello, but I don't think that's the best. You know, it's maybe good for marketing, but maybe for UI UX, but personally, I would recommend using Jira and Confluence. That's my personal preference, and you can use any other, but that's what I wanted to recommend. And the final one would be typical mistakes that you may have during MVP. So, from my experience, there are a few typical mistakes that can ruin your MVP. And the first one would be overcomplicating. Please do not overcomplicate your software, do not overcomplicate your product because it will ruin it for you. It will ruin it for your timeline because the project will be developed not in 1 month but in a year, and you will have no success because end users, you need to have A/B testing and see what they think, not creating some monstrous, Godzilla-like product that no one will even understand. So don't overcomplicate. The next typical mistake for me would be trying to reduce your budgets. I already told you what is the core team in the perfect world for me, right? Which is 3 people. And please do not try to cut your budgets on these people. You can try to cut your budget on other people that will be coming optionally, or once in a time, but you definitely should not cut your budgets on your core team because it will influence the quality. All these people just will leave the team because they are not happy with your product and with salary cuts or stuff like that. You cannot compromise your budget on these people. That's not possible. That's something you should never do because you will fail, your MVP will fail. Do not do that at any cost. The third one would be perfectionism. It's kind of the same as overcomplicating things, but uh, even if the product is pretty much simple, it still may be perfect, right? And there are a lot of cases when people are trying to make it even more perfect than it is already. Uh, that's something you should not waste your time on because people are not perfect and your customers are not perfect and they are not expecting to have some perfect product, some perfect MVP. It's an MVP. In the end of the day, it's still an MVP. It's not a product finished, right? So don't be this guy who stops the development, who uh, asks a team to redo things again and again, just because you don't like this design, right? Or you want to have everything pixel perfect. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I would say most of mistakes are created not by the development team because of course usually it looks like the development team is the hands of the project, right? But you are the mind of the project, right? You are the head of the project. So as a business, usually they think that all right, we've done our job, we created the idea, and if something happens and it goes wrong, the problem will be in the team. But mostly from my experience, the problem is somewhere before the team even starts working. So it's a budget that is not high enough. It's unrealistic expectations. It's perfectionism and other stuff like that. So I would strongly recommend you, as a business owner or maybe delivery manager of some kind, mm, to try to find mistakes from your side before trying to confront the team and pretty much destroy relations with your team. Because your team are the people that are creating your product, that are trying to do their best to deliver, to bring it to life. And if they are not happy, if they are not clear on the requirements, or you're constantly pressuring them, it will not give you any preferences, it will not give you any additional quality, but will only create more problems in the future. And you will not be able to complete your MVP at all. And that's it. That's it for today. Thank you for listening to me. And I hope I'll see you soon, guys, because it's really a pleasure to be speaking to you. I'm still learning how to record all these videos, and I have a lot of actual information from these videos being cut out by video editors. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I can tell you, but some of it will be just cut out because we don't have enough time to discuss and everything. But if you want to discuss something in particular, some subject, you will be really interested in hearing my opinion or professional opinion, please let me know in the comments or just DM me, send me an email, call me, and we'll figure it out. Thank you for your attention. Bye bye.